I'd like to greet each and everyone present here, particularly the media personnel from different media houses. With you here, I have forum members that are representing umphakathi, the community at large. Here, I have Ifepangwana Baruna, I have Ikaya Lutemba, I have Akunda, I have Josif. I'm representing Karazomai Community Development Center. I have Kyle Temba. I have the attorney, Mr. Dile. I have Umam Rose representing ISASTA. I have Hometo representing Ikacheng. I have Umam Sina representing Uni Luisa. We have our CEO, Wabum Songo. And then Mr. Zwani or representer Ikaya Temba. So the purpose of this briefing is to clarify misconceptions that might have arisen as a result of that circulating media report that suggested or that actually said which the CEO of JoziFM has been suspended. So namhlanje we are here to actually put those allegations to rest. So before anything, I'd like to go through this media release that was prepared for media, that was prepared on the 13th of August. If you can just give me a few minutes for me to just go through this media release, so as to give us not a backup story, not a backup story, but yeah, a background story, yes, as to why we are here and everything. So it reads as follows. Soweto Media Resource Center, trading as JoziFM, clarifies executive leadership and corrects misinformation regarding contract cancellations. Johannesburg. The Board of Directors of the Soweto Media Resource Center, trading as JoziFM, has issued an official statement to address and correct recent unauthorized and misleading statements circulating in the public domain concerning the station's executive leadership and operational management. Number one, confirmation of executive leadership. Pomhlongo remains active as the CEO, as you may all see him is here. The Soweto Media Resource Center Board of Directors categorically confirms that Dr. Mhlongo remains fully active and recognized as the legitimate Chief Executive Officer of the organization, which then nullifies all the information that has been circulating. Any statements, notices, or claims suggesting the suspension of the CEO are completely false and unauthorized. The board clarifies that such fabricated claims are part of desperate, disruptive attempts by former directors who were removed by members of the SMRC, which is Soweto Media Resource Center Forum, who happens to be the owners of SMRC appointing directors, including former chairperson who is currently facing active investigations by the Special Investigating Unit, which is SIU, regarding allegations of the theft for the 34 million, I believe that is also known by Wonkumutu, fraud and the suspected laundering of the money. The case for theft and fraud of National Lottery Fund intended for SMRC was referred to Special Commercial Court under the case number 62/05/2025. The other former director, who is facing charges of multiple cases of raping disabled minor children, all these cases were reported at Orlando Police Station. Case number yakhona is 43/638/2024 and is heading for trial on the 24th and the 25th of October 2026 at Protea Magistrate Court 8. The board remains steadfast in protecting the station's integrity, pursuing all full accountability and ensuring that governance is upheld without interference from individuals under criminal scrutiny. And then the second point that I have here is the legitimate cancellation of presenter contracts by the HR department. The SMRC trading as JoziFM management also addresses recent queries regarding the termination of certain service providers and presenter contracts clarifying that these actions were handled strictly through formal internal processes managed by the Human Resources Department. Strict adherence to governance, meaning contract cancellations were executed strictly in accordance with documented breaches of service, level agreement, and internal codes of conduct. Documented violations, the disciplinary actions and terminations were necessitated by repeated severe violations ranging from individuals repeatedly reporting to work under the influence of substances to the unauthorized dissertation of broadcast posts without a valid or lawful reason. Therefore, management emphasizes that maintaining professional conduct, adherence to labor terms, and protecting the broadcast standard of JoziFM are non-negotiable priorities. The station will not compromise on discipline or allow individual misconduct to jeopardize the public service mandate owed to the community. Okay. Third point, commitment to community and stability. So JoziFM remains fully operational and committed to serving its listeners across the greater Soweto footprint and multi-platforms with high-quality broadcasting, development programming, and reliable news. The board urges stakeholders, partners, and listeners to disregard unauthorized communication intended to destabilize the station and distract from ongoing forensic and legal accountabilities as issued by the board of directors. It ends here. So for further questions and clarifications, I have our legal representative, Mr. Dealer, and the CEO is also here, and the forum at large is also here to actually give answers to any questions that might arise. Thank you. Any questions? Wait. Do we have questions from the media? Okay, noted. First hand.
My name is Tabo. I write for the Daily Guardian.
Okay.
I didn't get your name ma'am, at the beginning.
Mbali Mumbai.
Oh, okay, thank you for that. What does this mean as of today? Does it mean that everything else that we've been reading about in social media is invalid? And does ICASA concur with the statement that you have just made now?
Okay, maybe as a way of giving legal background. Okay, before I actually deal with these things from a legal perspective, as everyone has already been told, Igamalamo Mr. Dile, policy delay in attending for JoziFM. By way of background, JoziFM is an NPC. What does it mean? NPC is a company not for profit, which is registered with CIPC. Now, when you register a company for not-profit, it's either you register it with directors. Okay, obviously every company has to have directors. Now, JoziFM had an option of registering it with directors only or with members. Now, there's a huge difference if NPC is registered with directors as opposed to when the members are there. Now, in this case, JoziFM has members who are effectively members of the community, who are most importantly responsible for overseeing, maybe let me put it this way, every single company has got shareholders. So in the case of NPC, we're talking about either members or non-members. Now in this case, JoziFM has got members who are effectively serving as the shareholders. Now shareholders or members, if you like, for an NPC, company for not-profit, has the final say in terms of appointing the directors. Now, in this case, by way of background, I don't want to get involved into the facts because the matter is actually in court. But as a way of background, the members, as the ultimate owners of the company, said there are issues with the board. Then they actually said, come forward. I'm talking about the previous board. Come forward, tell us exactly what are the issues, especially as it relates to allegations of theft, amongst other things, of 34 million. That is before the SIU. And obviously, as is actually said, it's with the Commission of Crimes Court. So they have never actually come forward. And like I say, ultimately, the members as the ultimate shareholders, they then decided to say, okay, fine, fix these issues. Let's actually call a meeting. And then they called a meeting, and ultimately they actually chose a new board. And now, you asked a question about ICASA. ICASA, as you know, is actually regulating the affairs of the company. But it has to be clear as to, ICASA cannot decide as to who is the owner. That's the first thing. ICASA cannot decide as to who is the director. So the directors, as I've said, there's a way of emphasizing, get to be chosen by the members, as it would be the case when we're talking about a normal company for profit. So the members, they serve as the shareholders. They decide as to who are the directors. And it's very important why JoziFM has actually decided to register the NPC with members. The importance thereof again is, if there were no members, what that would mean is that the directors will have a final say in terms of appointing themselves and everything else. Now, I think it was actually some kind of wisdom in that, in the decision to actually appoint or have the members as part of the NPC company, as part of the JoziFM. Why is that important? It's an important, crucial issue of checks and balances to make sure that the company is actually run properly, the directors don't do as they please, as we see now that the way they actually, I don't know where they're getting this thing that they can actually do as they please and ignore the members. Because ultimately, this NPC that I'm talking about, which is JoziFM, has the members who actually decide and regulate the conduct of the directors. So that's basically where we are. Now, I'm not sure if you answer, if I've actually answered you directly, unless if you want to maybe do a follow-up question. But as a way of like emphasizing, ICASA only regulates in terms of the Broadcasting Act, the affairs that are happening on air and all that, but it cannot decide as to who must be the director of the company, who must be the owner of the company. So ICASA doesn't have much of a say when it comes to such. Unless if there will be an issue to say there's a violation of the Broadcasting Act, someone said something on air that was not correct, then that's where they come in, for example. But in terms of the ownership of a company, they've got absolutely no say.
Okay, thank you. Understandable. Of course, ICASA can't determine that, but ICASA is the regulator, and they regulate the license. And without them, you can't go on air because they are a statutory body, and they determine, amongst other things, how the governance should operate. And whilst we are not arguing the NPC and its members or directors, as you've articulated, the question at hand right now is the governance. And the last meeting, as far as I understand, with the ICASA, where individuals, some of them are here, signed and agreed to the terms as set out by ICASA. They were such that the board of directors of Soweto Media Resource Center, NPC, trading as JoziFM, as recognized by the authority, would be Mr. Rapitsi, Monsu Tulane Mhlongo, Ms. Carol Janji. And it recognizes then the executive management. By the way, I must also add this so that we are consistent. It recognizes the management as the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Mpom Mhlongo, and such other members of the Executive Exco as may be identified. So the last meeting, that's why I asked about it, based on this and nothing else. I'm asking about this, that ICASA 1, according to them right now, and as we spoke to them prior to this meeting, they recognize these individuals not having deviated from this agreement which was signed by the people that I've mentioned. All the people that I've mentioned have signed. And as a result, it's the only standing agreement as per ICASA. Hence my question. that are they now aware of the recent developments and did they endorse it? I'm hoping I'm clear. I didn't want to make a tennis match between you and I.
You see, again, you're right. I don't want to get into that to and fro between us and ICASA. But maybe, again, what has to be important, what is important that has to be remembered here is this. You're saying ICASA is recognizing certain directors. Now, that's where legally there's a problem there. Because if ICASA is recognizing directors that, according to the owners, are not directors, so it's a serious legal issue. In effect, what I'm trying to say is this. As much as it's important for JoziFM to actually keep a good relationship with ICASA, it is important because at the end of the day, they are actually regulating the affairs of the company. But the point I want to emphasize here is that ICASA cannot recognize certain directors against what the members are saying are the directors. Because if you will appreciate, even if ICASA were to be part of the process, for example, of calling an AGM to make sure that ultimately there are new directors that are appointed. Now, the question that you should ask so that you see and appreciate exactly what I'm saying. Who then will choose those directors? Is it ICASA?
No, it's not ICASA.
Exactly. So ICASA cannot, they can, you see, that letter can say we recognize so and so, we're not recognizing so and so. But legally, it's a very serious issue. ICASA cannot decide. So we have an issue wherein the members are saying, these are the directors. ICASA saying, no, we are not recognizing these directors. We are recognizing these ones. Now, again, who has the final say in terms of who are the directors of the company? ICASA, like I say, and I want to emphasize this, cannot decide ultimately as to who are the directors of the company. And having said that, we want to actually say, it's not like we have a situation where members are now inviting a fight with ICASA. It's not going to help anyone because ultimately they are the ones that will decide on the license renewal or whatever the case may be. But even if that were to be the case, that decision will be taken after all these issues are ventilated. And my understanding is that there will be a tribunal, but I don't want us to go there. There will be a tribunal wherein someone who's trained in law, a judge, will listen to everyone and then decide as to who's right and who's wrong. So it's a serious legal question, and I'm emphasizing this. ICASA cannot decide as to who must be the directors and who cannot be the directors. That's where that's where I think we have an issue.
And no one is saying.
And the signing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You see, I don't want to. Okay, Mr. Msongo, want to say something? You want to say something? Okay. You see, I don't want us to again have this to and fro between ICASA and JoziFM. But again, from where I'm sitting, legally, whatever that they sign doesn't actually. I'm not going to say it doesn't hold water, but it doesn't mean much. For example, my understanding is that part of what they've signed, part of what was made, part of what they said must be signed, those are the terms of reference that must be signed for a process to be set in motion, which will culminate in the AGM. Now, what was actually contained in some of the things that were contained in those terms of reference? For example, it was to say the CEO must fire the directors of the company and remove the directors from CIPC. The CEO was forced to sign that. He signed and understood why he signed, in the spirit of moving forward. But legally, it doesn't mean anything. To be blunt, it doesn't mean anything. Because how can the CEO fire the directors against the wishes of the owners? You can actually see that it doesn't make sense. So it's a serious issue. I don't want, you see, I don't know how to emphasize this. We want to have a good relationship with the customer, but they cannot force the CEO to sign a document to say for us to move forward with a view to holding an AGM, you must fire the directors. Where is that power coming from?
If
You see that you already see the problem.
I hear, and I am very much happy for that to be entertained in the court of law. But currently we are speaking about things that are here. And as you would know, you're a lawyer. Law is up to interpretation. No one will say you're right or wrong up until the presiding officer has decided. But let's come to this issue, the germane issue here. One, this, and again, I'm not giving my opinion. It says the terms of reference take effect on the date of the signature by all parties and shall remain in force until the BCU has confirmed the valid constitution of the new board of directors following the EAGM. But lastly, most importantly, on the importance of this, we said by signing below, each party confirms that they have read and understood these terms of references, accept their binding nature, and undertake to give full effect thereto. This was on the 3rd of August, signed by Rapitse Monso, Mpong Hlongo, Franklin Hazens, and Tulani Mhlongo, and others. I'm just saying for the record so that we all know what we are speaking about. So these terms of reference are between you and ICASA, the regulator and the station. Without the regulator's blessings, no one should go on air. No, I'm not talking about this particular issue. I'm talking about who governs the space. The regulator governs the space. And I'm saying there's an agreement between yourselves and the regulator that the matters will unfold in this way. And my humble question, without fighting, my humble question is that given that you are not abiding by this, is the regulator aware of that? Have you challenged the authority, as you are saying, rightly so? And I don't know what the outcomes will be. Have you informed them that listen, we signed, but actually we're not interested anymore. We feel that we signed under duress. That's all that I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your question. And yeah, I think you're making sense from where you're sitting. They were actually notified that whatever they asked for is legally impossible. And I think you'll appreciate South Africa obviously is governed by the laws. Even ICASA itself,
Sure.
they actually should work in terms of the laws. So ultimately, the issue of licensing, whatever decision that they actually make, will have to be legally supported. It has to be making sense from a legal perspective. So they cannot wake up and decide to do whatever that they think they can do. I'm saying to you, I'm not sure if the people who were actually responsible for drafting those terms of reference probably had legal advice or wrong legal advice, or maybe they never even consulted someone who's legally trained. But you don't have to be legally trained again. Without getting into the nitty-gritties, on the face of it, it says an employee, let's say, it says, for example, the secretary must fire the manager for the matter to move forward. How? It doesn't really make sense. And again, it raises serious questions in terms of whoever that was responsible for those terms of reference. So in a nutshell, those terms of reference are actually unlawful. And I don't want to actually get into serious legalese about these things. It's something as simple as saying a junior must fire their boss. And okay, look at it this way again. It's a way of just showing you that what they are saying, quite frankly, is actually upset. I'm trying to be diplomatic here, but it is legal hogwash, because how can the CEO go to CIPC, remove the directors that were appointed by the shareholders in order for an AGM to be called? It doesn't make sense. And you will appreciate that all this is a way of putting pressure. And it's clear to see. It's a way of putting pressure on the CEO. And like I say, I can't speak for the CEO, but from where I'm sitting, the CEO was saying, in the spirit of moving forward, let me sign him. But without necessarily understanding, even if he understood, it doesn't mean anything legally. He cannot do what he said he will do. Now, if he signs to say, I'm going to fire the directors for us to move forward, legally, what will come out of that? Absolutely nothing. So in effect, without actually going up, moving in circles here, ICASA is effectively asking the CEO to do what is actually an unlawful act. And we're saying, from the legal perspective, that cannot happen. It is wrong, and it cannot be carried out. And if it were to be carried out, it will mean the CEO will have to commit crime, effectively. That's what it means. And that's where the problem is. So this is a serious issue where ICASA is implicated, and there's no any other way to put it. It is actually implicated in this whole thing, but it can be solved in the way of sitting around the table to say, okay, guys, let's look at what we can do and what we cannot do. And clearly, ICASA cannot be allowed to actually do something which is clearly unlawful. And that's where we actually are coming from. We're not saying, we're not fighting with ICASA without any basis. We're saying it is unlawful. If they're saying it's lawful, then let them show us as to on what basis are they saying it's actually lawful. I don't know. You see, this is not even legalese. It's just simple logic. Now, where do we move? How do we move going forward if they're insisting that this is exactly what must be adhered to?
But you're talking about a red herring. I'm not even arguing any of that.
Okay.
My issue is not whether that's the simple question, maybe moving forward so that we move away from this one. The new board that was elected, when was it elected? Was there any sufficient time given for the announcement to be made on air and elsewhere as per the guidelines? And again, does the regulator know about it, and have they endorsed it? That's okay. And I'm sure if those are answered, then you've got a very strong case that no one can fight with.
From where I'm sitting, the members called a meeting. They actually notified everyone. By everyone, I mean everyone of interest, which will be former directors and the members. And there was an announcement on air to say we actually are having AGM, and they came. Remember, this is actually a company owned by the community. They came in numbers, and they decided to say these are the people that we are choosing, in line with the founding document of the company, which is a memorandum of incorporation. It's clear to say, it's clear as to the criteria that must be followed when directors are actually appointed. And there's nowhere in the document that says ICASA must actually decide as to who are the directors. Nowhere in the document that says, wherein it said that ICASA must endorse the directors that are actually chosen. Yes, in the spirit of moving forward and transparency, they actually were notified ICASA and even about the results. And they actually outrightly, without even looking into the process and questioning it rationally, they said, no, outrightly, we're not recognizing the board. And that's where the problems are, because according to them, they're actually recognizing the board that was not chosen by the members. And you see, this whole thing, we shouldn't be having this, but unfortunately, ICASA is insisting as to on what basis. That's where the problem is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ICASA is not recognizing the new board.
Yes.
And they're saying you did not follow the process, you did not submit the minutes, and you did not go according to the criteria as set out by just what governs community radio stations. That's their argument. Are you refuting that? That you are saying you followed all the processes, you've given them the minutes, and you've gone through the relevant procedure, and that's what you are saying.
That's what we're saying. We are rejecting what they are saying.
Yeah. Okay.
We are saying ultimately people who have the ultimate say, they actually went through the process, they invited everyone, and everything was held publicly, and they were notified, and they were given the minutes. So everything was done above board. And our issue is this: even if Because if they feel that there's something that was not done procedurally correctly, we're saying, fine, come forward, let's see it, recall, and remember the expenses of an AGM. Recall the meeting. Everyone who's got an interest must be invited, must partake in it, and from where we're sitting, it's going to be a futile exercise because the very same people, more or less, will still be elected.
Oh, but you don't know that.
I'm saying more or less.
Yeah, but
You know why I'm saying so.
Yeah.
Maybe as a way of, there are 15 organizations,
Yes.
and that's what the MOI says, that have to partake in nominating and appointing the board.
Yes.
Now those, I think how many were there? 14 of them were there, if I'm not mistaken. 14 of them were there, and they chose 7 directors, and those 7 directors are actually representative of those member organizations.
Yes.
So already more or less the results going to be the same. So effectively, the directors that were chosen are effectively coming from the member forums.
Sure.
And the 14 were there, they chose. So what is going to be the purpose of recalling it? But if it's to be recalled, we're happy to have it recalled, but everyone must partake in it. Even the very same previous board members, they can partake in it. But the way it looks to us is, I don't know, we could be wrong. The way it looks to us is that they want to come up with a new criteria after the fact, which is obviously out of keeping with what is actually provided for in the MOI. And that's why we have a problem. But if they want to come forward transparently, involving everyone, then we're happy. Even the media, the whole media can actually partake in it. And then they can go through the documents to see as to what criteria must be followed. And then the AGM can be recalled at great expense again, but I don't know. We're fine with that. I think we're fine with that. We'll have to see where we get the money. And then from where I'm sitting, the outcome is going to be more or less the same. Unless if they come up with a new criteria after the fact and follow whatever procedure that we don't know of, which is foreign to the company and to the document, the founding documents, then yes, the outcome will be completely different.
So I get a sense that you feel aggrieved by this move by CASA. You think that they've got some how can I put it, vested interest beyond their regulatory mandate in their affairs. Please confirm if that is how you interpret their conduct towards you and try and motivate. And currently, with this standoff, who's in charge of the station? Because now we are in a media briefing and it's the attorney who's speaking on behalf of a leadership that is being disputed by ICASA. Obviously, you will have to invoice at some stage who's going to pay you. And regarding the SIU, I know the SIU to investigate institutions, in particular where public monies are involved. Exactly what are they probing in respect of JoziFM? Because from the statement, it sounds as if the investigation is, against the board, the chairperson of the erstwhile board that still believes itself to be in charge, and you believe that it is gone. Exactly what is being investigated and who?
Okay, maybe let me start with the first question. You see, you're right. I'm an attorney, and as it is the case with everything in life, law is involved. So that's basically why I'm here. So even ICASA, in terms of how they're supposed to do their job, there's law there. So I'm here just to say this is what the law says, and from where I'm sitting, I'm not going to say they've got a vested interest, which is nefarious, but something doesn't really make sense from a legal perspective. If they were to follow the law to a T, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. So on that score, there's something which probably have to be investigated, because the law doesn't actually provide for what they're actually doing. It's absolutely out of keeping with the law. That's where I'm going to leave it. Now, in terms of the SIU, my understanding is this: there's the former director who's effectively expelled or removed is the one that is being investigated, because my understanding is that there were monies, in fact it's actually out in the public, there were monies that were meant for the station, for the company. It came from Lottery. He applied for the money, he got the money, and then when the money was supposed to be used for the company, it was not used for the company. He's actually on record to say that money was not meant for the company. I use it for whatever that I use it for. Now, but when the application was actually made, the records are actually with Lottery to say this is an application by JoziFM for this and that and that. And then the money was released on that basis. But when it came to JoziFM, it was not used for, according to him, it was not used, but it was not used for JoziFM. It was used for what he has to account as to what it was used for. But when it came out of Lottery, the understanding and the records are there to say this is for JoziFM. So, to answer your question directly, SIU is busy investigating him directly. And remember, SIU is effectively for civil issues, and there's a criminal case already which was opened with Orlando Police Station because of the serious nature of the charge and the complexity thereof is actually referred to a commercial crimes court. So that's where it is. And the matter, by the way, is actually ongoing. It's not actually finalized. So I think that would answer what you just asked. And then what else? Can you remind me?
Who is in charge and currently?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, because it's rather odd to have an attorney.
No, trust me.
Yeah, when we are not in a legal process.
Trust me.
And also, maybe the CEO's account of what would have occurred when this document was signed. Was he bullied? I think it would be fair to the public if he explicitly says so in his own words.
He's gonna speak. You see, trust me, I actually told management to say I can't actually be talking about the affairs of the company. I'm only there to speak about the legal issues. So if probably it comes to as if I'm dealing with the management issues, I don't think I am, but only legal issues. So the CEO is yet to talk, and he'll obviously deal with those. But my issue here is just legal issues, and that's basically, as you will understand, this issue is actually entangled legally. So maybe that's why they felt I must be here so that those legal issues are actually dealt with. So I'm not in charge of the company, but I'm actually aware of what's happening, and I've advised the company as to this is what the law says, and that's why maybe they felt it's actually important that I'm here. Now, who is in charge? From where I'm sitting, the directors that were chosen, the current directors that were chosen by the members are actually in charge, unless and until they're actually removed legally. And legally, in this case, would be an AGM that has to be done, and that's exactly what we are happy to actually to have, even if we already did it, but it can be redone. And let's see what outcome is going to be. Or unless if there's a court order that says the directors are actually removed, but there's no such. So from where we're sitting, they are still the directors.
So lastly, do you have dates wherein the members met and decided to remove, I believe, the LRPC board and appoint a new one? And if you do have the dates, I suspect they must have been before the 3rd of August. And there's a colleague who said on the 3rd of August, the CEO co-signed with LRPC.
Yeah.
Now, how do you
Yeah. Okay. I'll answer that. But before I answer it, maybe by way of background, the members, they actually follow the founding document in terms of whatever they do, which is again follow the law. Now the law is clear to say when you are a member or you are a director of JoziFM, and then you are actually charged criminally, you cannot actually carry on as a member or director of the company. And that is actually in black and white. It's referred to in the mode to say there's a policy that governs how directors must conduct themselves and all that. So it's absolutely clear to say when you are charged, you cannot be a member and a director of the company. And remember, here we talk about, for example, the former chairperson was charged in 2025. And immediately thereafter, in a transparent way, the member said, come forward. Tell us exactly what's the issue here. And in view of the fact that the AGM had not been called for a period in excess of 2 years. So there were concerns there from the governance perspective. The CASA is actually well aware of it. It was part of the whole thing. The members rightly so said, come forward, tell us what's happening. They were ignored on numerous occasions. Now, ultimately, they met last year, I think they met last year around August, to say, guys, okay, the dates are, but no, it was last year in September, and they met again in November, after the arrest of the chairperson. Now you can imagine, this person is charged, is arrested, and at the same time there were other directors that resigned. And my understanding from where I'm sitting, they were actually not pleased with the way the chairperson was actually doing things, so they resigned. Now, the crisis there was absolutely serious. It was actually serious to the extent that it meant if the members never actually called a meeting to fix the situation, that meant the company couldn't exist. You know why I'm saying so? The NPC is absolutely clear to say, the company's law when it comes to NPC is absolutely clear to say there has to be 3 directors minimum. Now, there were 3 directors that were registered with the CIPC, which is the former chairperson, Rapiti, and Dokas, and I think it was Moralo. They resigned in protest of the actions that the chairperson was actually taking. Now, what does it mean? Existential is a problem. It means the company cannot exist. So what was the member supposed to do? Being aware of the situation. They said, no, we call a meeting to urgently deal with the situation for the company to actually be compliant with the law. Then they appointed the interim board. After that, they actually invited everyone, including the former directors, to say, come through, we're going to have an AGM. Transparently, an independent service provider to actually conduct the polling was actually called in. Everything was done above board transparently, and they chose these new directors. So you can see, like it was in November. We'll give you the dates. I think it was in November. The
21 February.
No. The first meeting was in November, which is to appoint an interim, and then they actually decided to call an AGM 21 February. And then ultimately, then in March, then they appointed the directors in terms of allocating the roles to say this one's a chairperson. So it was November, February, the AGM happened, and then the one for March, it was just to give the roles to, okay, this one's going to be a chairperson. So everything is above board, and that's exactly what we've said to everyone. So, but if the process has to be redone, according to my understanding, again, I'm not in charge, they'll talk. Okay, the directors will talk themselves, but from where I'm sitting, remember I have instructions, and I'm actually busy with their cases. They're saying it's fine. As long as everything is going to be followed according to the accounting documents of the company, it's fine.
Thank you to everyone. Joseph, I think maybe we need to start. Maybe we should start that JoziFM SMRC is a community organization belonging to the community by and large. And that community is represented by what we call a Social Media Forum, which was established late in the 80s. Social Media Forum was established by NGOs within the community, Yamosoweto, to start a media house, Yamosoweto. Who you are seeing here are members of the Social Media Forum, which are the license holders, which means they are the ones who own SMRC, not the CEO, not the management, not the staff. not even the CASA for that matter. So these are the owners of the license, basically. So if the license holders make a decision, we believe that's a decision that becomes final. The attorney has spoken about the issue of founding documents. Our founding documents are very clear. Therefore, if a member, if any of them, Konali KC, needs to be excused. Okay. As it stands now, we are aware, or everyone is aware, that the beginning of this is when I spoke out for it, there were monies that were paid into the coffers of the convention. And years went by, nothing happened. By me speaking out, I became an enemy to people who feel and believe that I shouldn't have spoken about it. I have been targeted ever since. This was my second time that I've been suspended, or my contract being nullified or suspended. This happened last year as well. To say my questioning, then that board, then on individual in the board, and when I say individual, because other board members refuted in writing and in sending voice notes to say, we have nothing to do with this. We know nothing of this. So it was just an individual who had decided that because I am questioning the Chelvitsa came in Talotari, then I became an enemy. We went through that process. I took it to the attorneys, they dealt with it. Other board members, as I was saying, it is after that other board members were beginning to be frustrated as well, because they too wanted to know what happened to these funds. We are also talking about board members who came in after the funds were sourced, after the funds were paid into the account, after the funds perhaps were used. I'm going to assume that. We are sitting with a board that fell into, but we are not getting the answers. We are being targeted, we are being harassed whenever this issue is brought to the table, bearing in mind that we had not even had an AGM since 2023. So when the question of the lottery funds always comes, then we become to have problems, to a point where then we have to report to say, we have an issue that money came in, we do not know. I need to make note that we also in fact went to the NLC to say, you gave us money, where is the report at the challenge? Because as far as we are concerned, as far as the board then that was sitting, we were even shown plans of how the new studios are going to be looking like. I had to sit in a meeting of planning the new studios set up, how it's going to look like, and where Coach Ablani proceed. So I was involved in the sense of whenever I came back to report to my staff, people were excited that we're going to have our own space that is bigger, that is better, equipment that is state of the art. Unfortunately, that never came to be. There were a lot of excuses after another until perhaps also I felt like this is just enough. We can't have like 10 years of one excuse after another. And then another trench of money comes, we have to say, Madam Aisha, something is not okay with you. So that is the board of contention. So the problem has really nothing to do with these people. It's got to do with me raising the issue of the money. So when this came, the forum started saying, no man, we need to sit down and understand what's happening. We are hearing things. Then that's when the first meeting they had last year. It's no man, says what is in the only media, what is happening? Can the chairperson come forward? Only to find that there's only 3 people left. We're supposed to have a board of 7 people. There's only 3 people left. What does it mean? Do they form a quorum? Because I think let's start there. But ICASA recognizes them, even though even the founding document says that once you have a case against you, for whatever reason, ICASA either ignores it or they pretend they do not know or understand. But as it stands now, they are saying these are the people that recognize, irrespective of the cases, as we mentioned, that are there, especially that has to do with us, so Resource Center, JoziFM, especially that to do with us, the organization that received these funds. They don't even not say anything to date. To a point where even the management said, we want to go sit, go Triple C. We're going to go to sit in front of the Triple C so that they hear us, our frustrations, as how the former chairperson is not supposed to talk to us, but sends messages to us, sends messages, they prove how to send messages to junior staff when you are supposed to communicate only via the CEO's office. So these are the things. If you be aware that on Monday we wake up to say the CEO is being suspended. This happens on a Monday. Immediately on a Sunday, we're giving out a car. If you remember the panel van, we've been running a campaign. After we do that, suddenly it's like we are also disturbing somewhere, someone, somehow, which is normal. You know, maybe I should be seen as a bad person, I think. But now that everything is seemingly going well for Josif, you know, and to a point where, will someone remind me, May or June, when the former chairperson went to FNB to freeze the account, was made so that the staff mustn't be paid, so that we cannot pay rent, we can't pay electricity. What does it mean? Once you freeze someone's account, it means there's you know, the staff's not being paid. So obviously we would have paid the following month. And thankfully the team understood which we are doing the best that we could to make sure that people are paid. So can you understand somebody who's got bills to pay, has debts to pay, has you know, other people, your insurance, your house, your car, whatever that you're paying, your kids, you know, and suddenly you're not getting your money. And not because you did not work, and not because the money is not there. The money is there, but there was a decision when we went to FNB to say, the former chairperson decided for the We also learned that even the account of the station, the address has moved from Dube. It has been, that account we've had it since 1995, if I'm not mistaken. 31 years later, it's moved to an individual's address. How does it happen that an organization move an address to an individual? You know, how does it happen? But still, the authority on CASA will still recognize that individual. Who I've mentioned that foreign documents say this, and there's only 3 of them left, which means they do not form a quorum. How do they make a decision? Manipulate against the forum Americano. How are they not even calling the forum and saying, Rashota, can we, you know, put more people so they rebel for form a quorum? That never happened to the party.
Oh, sorry. I think your hand was up first. I'm noting you, and then you're noting as well. Yeah. Ma'am. So he goes first, and then.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm
Not
distracted. Apologies.
Not a problem.
I'm sorry, Tim.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to know, just maybe in short, do you feel that ICASA might be taking sides in this whole matter and maybe destabilizing the ship that has been sailing almost smoothly before the shenanigans? And also maybe the money that is being investigated by the SIU, if I could get a bit of this. Thank you.
You know, first I think I signed, you know, because sometimes you get to a point where you get frustrated. You get frustrated because you want to see things happening. After our account was frozen, and then we said, you know what, now go, let's just give this to them, let them do what they wish. Maybe, you know, that's what they desire, but the forum must eventually make that decision. Who and how it is supposed to be. And to a point where we were told, you can even use your license. That's what happened in that meeting. You know, we can even use our license. So then you're sitting and say, but it's not license that, it's license the community. If you're not going to be the person who stands in front of about going to the license because of me. So then you get to that you are under pressure to say, okay, let's do this. But then you come back, you sit down, I'm told that I must fire the board. I'm told that I must be part of the SIPS. I'm an employee here. You know, how do I go to SIPS and say, remove so and so and so? I'm an employee here. How do I then want to elevate myself and be part of the SIPS? And SIPS, it registers directors, isn't it? I'm not a director. You know, much as my responsibilities are those of an ex officio, which means that the board has a right, obviously, to fire me and hire whoever they wish to, which is understandable, and I have no problem with that. But the issues when then I am told then you must remove A, B, C, D, E. You then sit down and say something is not right. You know, I was under duress, you know, I signed things, but I feel this is not okay. Then we come back and say, you know what, we should also like the narrative government as we're supposed to do, as we have been doing. We hand it over back to them. They say, no, we are not happy. Remember, these are the people who own the license. And these are people who have made a decision. But after 3 years, let them call for an AGM. So they are the ones eventually, at the end of the day, who must say, this is the direction that the station is going to take, not me. Obviously, the authority needs to be the one that ratifies whatever decision. If they have questions, they have issues, then they will say, no, this one we're not happy with, this can't happen, this must happen. So it stands right now. ICASA recognizes the 3 people I've just mentioned. On the other side, the owners of the station, they're saying we are the owners. So if we must lose a station, a license, it would be in fact up to ICASA as far as I'm concerned, because these are the owners of the license.
Okay, are you finished?
I might not be in terms of the figures.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I think we did explain initially that the first figure that came into ours was 12 million that came into our account. And then the board then said we need to open a separate account so that that project does not get disturbed by our day-to-day, because it was put in our day-to-day account. So a separate account was opened, which was run by the board. So 12 million is the one that we have proof of, that we can share with and say this is the amount that came in. During the investigations, it was discovered that there were other trenches, I think 3 trenches that came in later, to an amount of about 34 million. 34 million rands. And the chairperson had actually made a statement that it's actually not even that money, it's less. So it means there is that money that was taken. But as to what happened, we are yet to see a single microphone, a single brick, a single anything as it stands today of what happened. As I said, the bone of contention here was just that, where is the money? That is just that, what happened to the money? If the money was taken back to the lottery, we would have understood that to say maybe we did not deliver and MLC took their money back. But as it stands now, say, those are the figures that we are aware of, and we do not still know what happened to it. But as I was saying, as it stands with the authority, it is an issue that they do not want to discuss. The management went to CAS and said, we are having issues, and part of the issues is this issue of money. And they made it clear that we'll deal with it if there is a case. The case was there, and they want to hear nothing of it. As I said, they have not responded nor said anything to us regarding this. So as it stands, it means that we have an authority that may be taking side, whilst we are saying, but we are, the ones who are feeling that we are not taking seriously, we are taking for granted. How can you be silent when you are saying an organization who was used to either launder money, whatever you want to call it, and an institution that you have licensed, and that has been brought to your attention, and you are aware of it, and yet you say nothing. And when the license holders meet and say, this is who we are, we have decided to have an AGM and to elect our board, and we're saying we recognize that the board that, or some of the board members, that firstly do not form a quorum. Secondly, they have cases pending on them, which means you giving them power over the owners they have not met the forum, that is the council, to say, can we then meet the forum as the license holders, so that let us hear their side of the story, if there is any side for that matter, so that when they make that decision to say, we are recognizing these ones, what are you saying about the actual owners?
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mhlongo, thanks for that. You signed on the 3rd of August.
Yes.
After the entire process. And at that time, we are informed here that you knew about these meetings. Did you take your board into confidence, your lawyer, and say, this is what the ICASA is saying, and I'm meeting with them, I've had repeated meetings with them, and I am now going to sign, they're actually forcing me to sign under duress. Did you take them under your confidence to tell them that there's a gun over my head, I need to sign? And secondly, I'll keep quiet after this, I promise. And secondly, after this, it's also the court as well. It's not just the CASA, just for the purposes of fair reportage. The High Court had ordered in September 2025 and in July 2026 that there should be restraint from all the parties except the board. No one has the authority to interfere with the business of the license, including convening of any general meetings. This is also the court. It's not just ICASA. We ventilated ICASA. I'm sure they'll answer for themselves. But the court, 2025-2026, Judge Masipa also is very extremely clear on these issues of articulating that no one should. So it means that you had then gone against the decision of the court to do this. And in my mind, I'm wondering, why don't you challenge these things then and say, one, we disagree with what the court is saying, but number two, we disagree with what ICASA had said as a remedy to you signing under duress.
There's an appeal already in that. So much as remember in the court of law, if a decision is made, you have a right to appeal. So as it stands now, those have been appealed.
Have you challenged this?
Yes.
What are you signing the memorandum?
Yeah, we.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
The same court orders that you make reference to are actually been challenged, and as you'll appreciate, obviously I don't want to get into the details, but we are strongly opposed to the decision. We have appealed it, and then I think you'll appreciate the operative effect of an appeal is that it keeps in abeyance or it suspends everything until all processes are actually finalized. So as matters stand, that court order is actually appealed. And to say the least, it was absolutely very, very odd. That's why we actually appealed the matter. And in respect of the other one that you're talking about as well, we have actually commenced the process of rescinding that order. And again, the way it was actually, I don't want to get into details, but the way it was actually obtained, it was odd because, for example, the parties that were taken to court about the general meeting and them not, and then who must actually call a general meeting that affects the company. The parties that were taken to court, cited in the court documents, are the employees, meaning the people who were supposed to be cited and served with those court documents were not. And as to why that happened is obviously anyone's guess. So we are actually challenging that. And from where we see it, it should be an easy win for us, because you can't actually sue someone else, meaning the records are showing this is who we sue, but in fact we are suing someone else who's not even aware of those processes. And then after that claim, no, this is the court order against you, but you are not cited, you're not served, you don't know anything. So we are challenging those. So we don't have issues there. It should be an easy win for us.
Did you take them into confidence?
Yes. The board is aware of all the action that are taken. They're also aware that the CASA stated clearly that they did not recognize them. So as I was saying to you, in hindsight, in trying to find peace and move on, they were our hands. The Athena said that they were ready to go to another AGM, basically. So they are aware of this. They are ready to go to another AGM, you know. But I think the terms of reference are now the one that becomes a bit to say, okay, so how do I then decide that guys, you must go? Nah. You know. So they are aware. They have taken. They have made that decision already. Look, we are ready to go to another AGM if that is the case. If that's right. But the way, the how it's been designed, it becomes a challenge. For now, you are bringing in something else. Second is that there are issues that also that you are saying, according to our founding documents, these people, because already they have cases pending, they can't come to us, they can't be part of us, but we are saying, as ICASA, they must be. So that is where the challenge becomes a big one. How do you force people? Remember also, we have members that were added into the CIPC, who our understanding is that those people, they need to sit in a meeting, their body or their forum, and say, these are the individuals. So we have 3 people who all by themselves decide whether they must belong to CIPC. How do they add themselves when there are no resolutions? How do you take a resolution? They need 3. How is it possible in this country? You know, there are 3 individuals who decide on behalf of the forum to say we are the only ones. So I'm told I must remove everyone else and keep these 3. So when I ask for how are these other 2 added, how do you add someone else on behalf of an organization that exists without it giving a go-ahead? Who made that decision? You know, at what meeting? When was the meeting held? Are there minutes to that to say these individuals must be added and these are, you know? So as it stands right now, we are finding ourselves at loggerheads, which we are either neither winning nor losing. But I think their biggest concern is the livelihood of the organization. How do we ensure that this station is sustained? Because we are 31 years, we're supposed to be celebrating 31 years. But here we are dealing with issues of people who feel that they have ownership of this organization. It is theirs. You know, when, for example, this chairperson has been since 2011, you know, to date, it's how many years? How do you then hold on for such a long time and still want to hold on beyond when the members feel, well, I know your time is up. But then, you know, you continue holding on. I must bring this to attention that some of the things that we took to ICASA when we met with the management, because was said, the then chairperson has alluded to the fact that he has relations with ICASA. He trains them, the management. He has influence more. And we brought that to attention. But we have this issue that was he had in fact declared to a board to say it has training, it has influence. If you understand, maybe it's what the experience and the expertise to share with them at a certain level. But obviously now it seems like it's affecting the organization even now. You know, to say, does it mean his influence goes beyond the code of duty? Does it mean his influence can make him decide or make them decide, which, you know, we do not know that. But it is what we had raised with them to say we have these issues, like, you know, the said chairperson has had this. But as I was saying with you also should be aware of the timing of some of the things when they happen. They happen when something very good happened. As I was saying, you know, Sunday it was a Women's Day, we were celebrating. We're giving somebody a panel event. Tomorrow morning, somebody feels, no, this boy he can't take the glory. It's not my glory. It's what the organization does. It's what these men and women are sitting here. It's not my kind. It was for somebody else. But immediately after the double, which, you know, this is actually really much more personal. You know.
So it seems Rapiti is managing the back for some time, for 15 years. And what is your plan to finally and decisively deal with it?
But I believe that the AGM is supposed to be the ultimate, isn't it? it's supposed to be an ultimate decision-making sitting, the AGM, which we believe that it happened much as Ikasa says they do not recognize. We have records of that. We have minutes. We have actually a recording of the AGM that took place, that was submitted to them. You know, so when they obviously decided to elect you, it means a decision was taken. As far as I'm concerned, you know, what other decision should be taken? You know? We are also dealing with someone who has, you know, person told me, you know, he has access to the highest office in the housing, access to the highest office in the land. So obviously, who am I? You know, who is this boy? We're not dealing with someone who has access anywhere and everywhere. So obviously, if there is an influence, maybe, I don't know. But that is how it stands. You know, we are, yeah, maybe powerless, if not in a way.
Yeah, recognize Can you give him Rosie and then you are.
I just wanted to say just a few, not too many. How do you become elected as a chairperson when you don't have an organization that is in whatever you will be chosen from? From the first start, something went wrong. Rapidly had no organization that will back him to be chosen to be whatever, a chairperson. Because as we stand here, each and every one that is here has an organization where we meet and then start voicing, choosing. But Rapid was appointed, in which way, that I'm not going to dwell so much. That was a mistake. Because now, he's now seeing the JoziFM as his company. That is why he's doing it. I wanted to cry tears when the people that are here, who are presenters, who could have not been paid because of him, closing, changing the account and referring the account to his. Who's he? We have our organization, we are the community here. We choose what we want. And since Rapiti was a chairperson, he has never called a meeting of sitting with a forum. What is that? We did not know what is going on and whatever. But he's a chairperson. What's going on? To report the projects that he is busy doing or supporting the community with. Nothing. If then the very person that they say must be removed as a CEO is busy trying by all means to let people be happy of the community, what is happening is because of him striving to see that people are supported who are the community, meaning that they us, but Rapidly not one. I thank you people and say, let me just cool down. And if it was not the projects that are done by the very CEO, these people could not be paid because the account was freezed. I wanted to cry tears, as grown up as I am, to say, Nkosi yami, labantu manje bazothini ngoba they are expecting ukuthi sinemali okufuneka sibhadale ama-needs emakhaya ethu. Manje mase singaholelwa, he had to go and get the money of the project ezenziwa uye not Rapid. I'm sorry to say, I end up there.
Thank you, Mama Rose. Thank you.
Yeah. Regarding the freezing of the account, it invites a question. What is the current situation, financial situation of the station? And I had asked the question earlier on to say who's in charge, who's accountable, especially in terms of decisions that have got financial implications. I noticed that there's a rather unusually high presence of security officers here, as perhaps the conflict reached a violent level. If not, why is the facility so much secured? You would admit that you don't usually find the radio stations protected like this? Because security also is another cost.
I don't know what is
Yeah, and this question is important
No, it's
since
okay, yes,
we
I
have
agree.
two groups that are contesting
Yeah.
each other's legal authority to spend their resources.
I don't know what is meaning. We just have to so I don't know what is meaning. And I see nothing wrong, personally. So, in terms of who is in charge, fortunately we have this board that is registered with SIPS, that was therefore able to go to the bank to unfreeze this account after it was closed. So this board went to the bank, we spent the day there to try to understand how, but also to understand how an individual. Remember, this is, I can normally, as far as I know, we need more than one person again. It needs to be 2 or 3. But one person was able to remove our address and move it to his own address. One person was able to freeze it. How is that possible? So as it stands, the status quo now is that we have this board that is sitting here, by God's grace, we're able to assist in unfreezing the account as it stands right now. Hope I answered the question.
Do you have any more questions? So I believe this is where our briefing ends. Thank you all for availing yourselves, and I believe our briefing ends here. So yeah, thank you so much.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. I've got only one thing. It's a plea yokuthi ngicela nonke ezibese sonke la no investigators lama cases to make sure ukuthi yini emisile ukuthi angaqhubeki, and also niyana ikhasa based kwizinto esisizikhulumile la with and nama guidelines ikhasa yileyo plea yami ukuthi nayi nibuyele back niye ku SIU niyo check ukuthi yini emisile, niye eOrlando police station niyo check ngadi lama case numbers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's lunch.
Oh, before we leave,
So much. We thank you so much.
before we leave, sorry colleagues, sorry, before we leave, there's lunch served outside. You can just grab something, some refreshments.